Hello and welcome to the Family Brand Podcast. My name is Chris. I'm a husband, a father, and an entrepreneur.
My name's Melissa, and I am a wife, mother, former nurse turned real estate investor.
And we believe the greatest gift you can give your child is a last name that stands for something.
Your last name is your family's brand.
If you are a parent who wants to raise your child to know who they are, love who they are, and believe in who they are, this show is for you.
We promise to bring you real and authentic conversations with parents and experts who are committed to making their family their life's most important work.
This show will help you take a stand for your family and to raise your children by design, not default.
Okay, summertime is upon us, which is a really fun, exciting, freeing, and I would say sometimes for families daunting, because it's like you've had some of the benefit of a structure, right? With the school year, whether you homeschool or have your kids in school. And now this freedom of like no schedule is both, I think, exhilarating and terrifying at times, because it's like, man, it feels so good to not be so rigid. And it's like, what are we going to do all summer? And how do I make sure that my kids aren't just like glued to devices all day, every day and fighting with each other? And how do we keep them entertained? And so several years ago, Melissa came up with this really great idea that we've done every summer that's really served our family, that's really fun and useful. So the fun part of that is she encouraged all of us, like, pick something you want to like really get good at this summer, or something that you really want to accomplish this summer. And it's been really fun. Every summer we choose something. Like one summer I randomly was like, I want to learn how to throw left-handed, like just as good as I do right-handed. And so I literally bought like a left-handed baseball glove, and all summer long we went to Utah for a month. And I remember this front yard, and I learned to throw a football left-handed. I learned to throw a baseball left-handed, just like silly things.
And you, I will attest, legitimately look really natural throwing left-handed.
Yes. Really important thing in life to accomplish.
We had just read a study that had said, like, if you can do that it's like really good for you and your health, longevity. Anyway.
Well, I think you read the study that people that continue learning new things and new skills dramatically reduce the risk of Alzheimer's.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So I was like, man, sign me up for some left-handed throwing on it. And so it's given us something to like look forward to. And we just read this book. I think we've talked about this before. We try to do a Smith Family book club where we'll read a book together, and then we set like a time limit on how long it's going to take us to all to read it. And then we come together and share our biggest takeaways. And the book we just read, which I highly recommend, was by Jocko Willink, Way of the Warrior Kid. And it was awesome for all of us. But it was cool because it actually talked about a kid whose uncle, who was a Marine, came to live with them. And this kid had some goals for the summer, got way stronger, way more physically fit, and like really accomplished some things over a period of summer. So that's a discussion we're just starting to have in our family of like, hey, and it could be physical related. It could be hobby, art, like service, like a business, like work, whatever it is. But it's like something that you're like really driving towards for the summer that you're actively engaged in, which has been really fun. And it's also been meaningful. Like we've accomplished things that I think otherwise we wouldn't have in the summer.
If Jocko was listening to this, he would want me to correct you that if he's not a Marine, he's a Navy SEAL.
Oh, sorry. Uncle Jake, right?
Yes.
Uncle Jake is a Navy SEAL. Wow. I blew it. Sorry, Jocko. And then the other thing is we've gotten in some really clear agreements every summer of how the summer's going to run. So it's like we try to strike that balance between enough freedom to like be a kid in the magical freedom of summer, with also still enough structure to have our family like work as best as possible and not have it be just complete chaos. And yeah, so
what I would add is the catalyst for this conversation is actually last night. So our oldest son, Tate, he homeschools, and he has been doing most of his classes at the local community college. And so college,
which by the way, he did amazing this year. I was really proud of him.
Yeah, he did do amazing. And his college classes ended earlier this week, ahead of almost like 2 weeks ahead of the local high schools. And so last night he went out with some friends, and it was a weeknight. It was like a Tuesday night, and he rolled in at 11:30, which is normally his curfew on the weekends. And I was like, Tate, it's 11:30. And he's like, what? It's summer.
Which I was kind of like, well played, dude. Yeah, like, well, I love that you're going for it.
I was like, okay, wow, we need to have some conversations about, we've done an episode before about expectations versus agreements. And, I have this expectation that during the summer, his curfew is going to remain the same. on weeknights and weekends. And he has an expectation that it's summer. I'm going to stay out till 11:30 every single night. And so,
And in fairness, we haven't
we haven't
visited agreements yet for this summer, because every summer they're a little bit different.
So it was just a funny conversation that happened last night. Chris was already asleep. So then this morning, I was like, Chris, let's rally and talk about this really quick. And so, but it led to a bigger conversation, like Chris was saying. It's not so much about the curfew and what time you have to be home every night, but it was like, okay, back into it. If you're going to bed late at night, and this is mostly applicable to those of you that have teenagers or older kids, but if it's like, if you're going to bed later at night, then like fast forward to the morning, you're probably not getting up as early in the morning, and you're probably not being as productive as you would want to be.
Probably not.
Day.
For him, it's like you're probably not getting to the gym as early as you'd like. You're probably not focused on your t-shirt business. And so I was actually glad it happened, because I think we would have had the same discussion we always have, which is, hey, what do you want to accomplish this summer? Let's get some agreements. But I think it actually caused us to have this bigger conversation that you led, which was amazing. It's like, how do you want to feel at the end of the summer? Because I think if like you helped your child, like in this case, a teenager, realize like, oh, at the end of the summer, I want to feel like I've really accomplished something in my business, my health. Maybe I've added 5-10 pounds of muscle heading into like sports next year. I actually think that takes kind of care of the whole conversation about a curfew, because it's like, well, what do you want? It's like, well, I want that. It's like, well, he's more likely to go to bed on his own at 9:30 or 10 to be ready to be up in the morning to go to the gym with me. And like, so I actually think it's a third conversation that maybe we've never had before. We've always said like, what do you want to accomplish this summer? What agreements do we have for the summer? But now it's this bigger one of like, how do you want to feel at the end of the summer? Like at the end of the summer, looking back, what would you want to feel about how you've spent the last 3 months? When it was, even for me, it's had me start thinking like, how do I want to feel at the end of the summer?
And I think this conversation has so many like different pieces of family brand coming together. But I think another piece of it is going back to our word of the year for our family, which is get that dog in you, which means, putting in work and putting in effort. What would getting that dog in you look like for our kids? And so I think that's part of the conversation as well. And that book that Chris was just talking about, it is so good, The Way of the Warrior Kid. I'll link to it. But in the book, a boy, it's really good. Basically, he's in 6th grade, the boy, the main character, and he is like really down on himself because they have this test and it's how many pull-ups you can do and he can't do any. And so his uncle comes to live with them, and it's like how he works and moves through the summer. And by the end of the summer, he can do, I think his goal was 10 pull-ups, and he like wakes, eats his goal. But it's just like by putting in that work and getting that dog in him, look what he was able to accomplish, and like look at how much his confidence increased. And the pull-ups was just one thing. Like there's many things that happen that he works towards in that book. But it was such a great read leading into the summer. It's so many things I think we want to embody as a family this summer. But yeah, I would challenge you to look this summer, involve your kids, however old they are, whatever age they are, in a way that fits best. Like, what do you want to accomplish this summer? How do you want to feel at the end of the summer? How can we challenge ourselves this summer and then back into it and be like, okay, so what are the things we need to do to have that happen at the end of the summer?
And I just had a thought too. So I think some really specific questions that we've asked, and I think we will ask, is like, we usually started off with like, hey, what's important to you this summer? Just kind of more broad, right? Like, what's important to you this summer? And they'll say things like, what's important to me to play with my friends a lot. It's important to me that we go see grandma and grandpa. It's important to me that we go to the pool every day and get a pool pass. So like every kid will have kind of a list of things that are important, which is awesome. And then the little bit of the challenge is like, what's something you want to accomplish this summer that like would be new for you, or a new challenge? Like in that, we nailed down to kind of one thing, even for us. And then I love this third question. It's like, and then how would you like to feel at the end of the summer? So what's important to you? Broader. What do you want to accomplish? Like one thing you really want to drive towards. How do you want to feel? And then the fourth one for us is like, okay, what kind of agreements do we have around the summer? Because again, it changes. And we just find that our family runs so much better on agreements. And it doesn't have to be as rigid, but it's like, okay, because we know we still want to eat as many breakfasts together as we can. We know we want to eat as many dinners together as we can. So recreating those agreements that won't look the same as they did in the school year. Like, how many mornings a week do we want to eat breakfast together? Okay, what mornings? What time will we be at the breakfast table? Which then lets us know what time breakfast is going to be on the table. How many nights a week do we want to eat dinner together? right? So some of the, like, it's going to be more loose, but just some of that structure. We've even had agreements before of like, okay, on this day of the week, the whole family goes to the pool. So like maybe the entire family isn't going to the local Pima pool, which the local Pima pool is amazing. It literally is like a scene out of the Sandlot movie. If you've seen that movie, it's just amazing. But it's like Melissa and the kids usually, some of the kids go every day during the summer. But then it's like, but it's really important to the kids that I come, So it's just like creating those agreements. And I think there is a real possibility that you look back at the end of the summer and it's like, wow, that was a magical summer. We did things that were important to us. Every one of us like drove towards something that we wanted to really accomplish. All of us feel accomplished. And, for the most part, the summer was really free, but also had some structure that allowed our family to just work a little bit better.
So as you head into summer, it is like the family dynamics change so much. So make sure you're having those conversations and revisiting all those maybe spoken or unspoken agreements, because it's gonna look different because schedules are different and are more loose.
One thing I was gonna say, and then we've talked on here about weekly check-ins a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool too in the summertime. One of the things you can kind of reinforce on the weekly check-in is like, hey, how are you doing around being able to do 10 pull-ups, or how are you doing around getting better at art? Or it can be this kind of ongoing conversation to continue challenging and supporting them. And I'll say more is caught than taught, like we always teach. Like our kids are going to learn far more by what they catch us doing and who they catch us being. So make sure that you're willing to be a demonstration of this. Maybe you choose something this summer that is a little bit outside your comfort zone, or you pick something brand new. And I think it's really cool that your kids get to see you like, oh, mom and dad are trying something new. Mom and dad are like getting out of their comfort zone. Mom and dad are committed to something this summer. Because I think it's really easy at times for me with my kids to be like, okay, I want all of you doing this summer. And then they're like, well, what's important to you this summer, Dad? It's like, nothing. What are you accomplishing this summer? It's like, I'm busy with work. Or like, how do you want to feel at the end of the summer? It's like, this is one of those areas where I know that I get to be, a demonstration myself.
Yeah, that's so true. It's easy as a parent to think it doesn't apply to you, but it applies to you too. So go out and get it this summer. Have an amazing summer.
Get that dog in you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Family Brand Podcast. To say thank you, we have something really awesome we'd love to share with you.
We often hear from families who will tell us that they just feel so overwhelmed because of the demands that are placed on them. They feel like they're constantly being pulled in so many different directions and spread thin, and they're spending time as a family, but they don't feel like it's quality time. They're not really connected, and they want to be more intentional. And we can certainly relate because we felt like that at one point in our family. And so we created a guide that allowed us to really be more confident around how we spend time as a family and what we say yes to and what we say no to. And it's just brought so much more peace into our home. It's made our lives so much more simple, and we want to share it with you. So if you go to familybrand.com/free, you can download the How to Take Back Your Family's Time guide, and I can promise you it'll give you more confidence and more peace in your life and in your family.
One last thing, we feel so inspired when we hear from families that we are making a difference for them. We would love it if you would leave us a 5-star rating and a review on the podcast so we can reach even more amazing families. We truly believe that the way we change the world is one family at a time.